My name is Tom, and I have been happily married to Amanda for 15 years. Our family brings me endless joy, and I can feel the depth of my wife's love for me. Our marriage has flourished over the years, and it fills me with immense happiness. We are proud parents to two wonderful daughters who are now in their early teens. Both of us have steady jobs. I work for a reputable security company, while Amanda is a voice translator at a prestigious film studio. We lead healthy lives and reside in a beautiful house located in a charming area of the city. Life is truly remarkable, and I couldn't ask for anything more. After the birth of our youngest daughter, Amanda experienced some weight gain. However, the allure of her captivating blue eyes, magnified by her stylish glasses as she dislikes wearing contact lenses due to discomfort, only enhances her natural beauty. I am deeply in love with Amanda, and I know that she reciprocates those feelings. We have been blessed with two incredible daughters, a comfortable home, and financial security. Everything in my life was perfect. However, after 15 years of marriage, something occurred that could potentially alter everything and shatter my once flawless and content existence. Recently, Amanda has developed a routine of socializing with her female colleagues at various bars every other Friday. They frequently rotate between 3 or 4 favorite establishments. She informs me that these outings are merely a means for her to unwind and relax after work, a sentiment with which I am completely fine. I ensure that I arrive home by 4:30 p.m. every day to take care of our daughters during her evenings out with her colleagues. On those nights, I happily prepare dinner for our girls and assist them with their homework, which is truly a delightful experience for me. Amanda typically returns home around 8 p.m., and then we spend the entirety of the weekend engaged in enjoyable family activities, including dining out with our daughters on Saturday evenings. Regrettably, in recent months, Amanda has been arriving home later on these Friday nights, usually around 10 p.m. I have also noticed that she has consumed a few alcoholic beverages. I have refrained from addressing this concern because Amanda remains the same affectionate wife that she has always been. Each time she returns from these nights out, she wears a special smile that instills an urge within me to embrace her warmly. I understand that spending time with her friends is her way of decompressing and temporarily escaping the challenges of her work week. I convinced myself that these outings were merely harmless fun with her colleagues, despite her returning home later than before. However, a few weeks ago, on a Monday morning, I received an email from someone who identified themselves as a friend. At first, I considered dismissing the email without reading it, but I ultimately decided to give it some thought. The email explained that the sender had been at the Black Crow Bar on the previous Friday and had observed Amanda thoroughly enjoying herself with a group of people, particularly engaged in dancing with a male member of her group. The sender had even attached a photograph captured covertly using their cell phone, urging me to scrutinize it closely. This unexpected email had already piqued my curiosity and instilled a sense of unease within me. Despite being aware that Amanda occasionally danced with her male colleagues during these outings, information she had never shared with me, as I had previously assumed these outings were solely with her female friends. It was conceivable that, at the Black Crow, she had danced with someone unrelated to her group. A lump suddenly formed in my throat, and I started feeling profoundly uneasy about the entire situation. Nonetheless, despite my reservations, I opened the attachment. As soon as the picture materialized, I couldn't help but notice its imperfectly centered composition, indicating that the photographer had been cautious about avoiding detection. I carefully examined the image, which depicted Amanda's male and female coworkers gathered around a long table in the background. Although slightly blurred, I could still discern Amanda on the right side of the dance floor. She wore her beige blouse adorned with red flowers and green leaves, paired with matching brown slacks, the same outfit she had worn during her previous night out with her friends. Consequently, I deduced that the photo had been taken the previous Friday when she had returned home later than usual, at 10:30 p.m., embracing me with her typical smile. In the photograph, Amanda was on the dance floor, tightly embracing a tall, young man, with both arms securely wrapped around his neck. To say that I was shocked would be an understatement. I couldn't recall ever dancing like that with Amanda or any other woman in a public setting. The man's lower body pressed intimately against hers, and it seemed evident that he was aroused, considering the nature of their proximity. Strangely, Amanda appeared unfazed. On the contrary, she seemed content, deliberately pressing against him as their eyes locked. The fact that my wife, the mother of my children, was displaying such provocativeness with a stranger in a public setting left me dumbfounded. I struggled to comprehend what I was seeing. She would never dance with me in such a manner in public. Why was she allowing a stranger to act this way, or was he truly a stranger at all? Doubt abruptly seized my mind, rapidly spiraling out of control. Various scenarios involving my wife and other men played out relentlessly, leaving me feeling nauseated. I hurried to the bathroom, where I emptied the contents of my breakfast into the toilet bowl. Amanda, my wife, was behaving inappropriately in public. I wondered if she was having an affair, betraying not only me but also our 2 daughters. Numerous questions overwhelmed my thoughts. Who was that man? Did they have a professional connection? How long had this been going on? Why did she involve herself with him? For the next half hour, I secluded myself in my office restroom, attempting to clear my mind. Gradually, new emotions surfaced: disappointment, sadness, and anger, followed by an overwhelming desire for revenge. A myriad of intense emotions consumed me, creating a tumultuous whirlwind of reactions. I oscillated between wanting to kick Amanda, to embrace her and plead for her to stop, or even consider divorcing her. However, seconds later, forgiving her and giving our relationship another chance crossed my mind. As I sat on the toilet, I felt as though I was losing my sanity. Eventually, I regained composure, deciding to refrain from taking any action and instead observe Amanda closely before making any emotionally driven decisions. Acting without having the complete truth was futile. I needed to wait and refrain from disclosing what I already knew to her. Concurrently, I was determined to uncover the truth, regardless of the means necessary. I needed indisputable evidence of her actions. Was she cheating on me or simply indulging in extravagant entertainment? Nevertheless, I was already aware that she had lied by omitting the details of her nightly outings with her female friends. Her workplace was merely a couple of blocks away from mine, making it easy to check on her. The following day, I parked my car at the edge of her workplace's parking lot at 11:30 a.m. Concealed by tinted windows, I monitored the exit door until 1 o'clock, but she never emerged. I repeated this routine throughout the entire week until Friday, when at 12:15 p.m., I witnessed Amanda and 3 others, a woman and 2 men, entering a black BMW. Amanda sat in the front seat next to the driver, the same man she had been photographed dancing with. They drove off, and I naturally followed. They ventured downtown, making their way into the parking lot of an upscale restaurant. I observed them laughing as they entered. Parked outside the restaurant, I remained in my car until they exited at 2 o'clock. Amanda walked alongside the tall, fair-haired man, the driver and the person with whom she had been dancing in the aforementioned photo. She seemed euphoric and animated, touching his arm as they conversed. This, above all else, incensed me. They returned to her workplace, and Alfer entered. Thus far, Amanda had not committed any blatant transgressions aside from neglecting to inform me that she occasionally dined with both male and female colleagues. However, the way the 4 of them behaved during lunch seemed more like 2 couples rather than friends or co-workers, and that deeply troubled me. That Friday, Amanda refrained from going out with her female friends after work and arrived home at 5:15 p.m., cheerful and radiant as always. It took immense self-control to restrain myself from bombarding her with questions. However, while quietly sitting in front of the television after supper, I casually inquired about her day at work and her lunch. For a brief moment, I noticed a flicker of uncertainty in her response, but she quickly stated that she had eaten the tuna sandwich she had prepared that morning. As I labeled her a liar, and perhaps even a cheater, I reminded myself that it was her big blue eyes, which I adored so much, that were staring back at me as she told that audacious lie. Though my anger surged, a part of me still longed to embrace her, the logical effects of being in love. I knew I had to control myself and avoid doing something I might regret. Instead of bombarding her with further questions, I decided to divert the conversation and discuss my day at work, adopting my usual weekend demeanor. Amanda likely remained unaware of the significance of our current predicament. Later that night, we made love twice, and she behaved like the affectionate wife she had always been, at least on Saturdays. We took our daughters to the zoo, and as a family, We had an enjoyable time. Momentarily forgetting the events of the previous week, I refrained from checking on her at noon for the remainder of the week, as I intended to follow her on Friday evening after work. When my two daughters returned home at 4:15 p.m. that Friday, I was already waiting for them. After ordering pizza, I explained that I had to go to the office and would return later in the evening. They were old enough to take care of themselves, and I didn't mind leaving them alone in the house as long as they locked the doors. I knew they would be in their room by the time I returned. At precisely 5 o'clock, I got into my car and headed towards Amanda's workplace. I watched her leave the parking lot, but instead of heading home, she turned in the direction of a pub where she would meet her friends for an evening out. Following her was effortless since there was a convoy of 6 cars between my SUV and her Toyota, all traveling towards the same establishment, a pub, a watering hole, or a dance hall, whichever you prefer to call it. 10 minutes later, I caught sight of Amanda's Toyota and the other 6 cars as they pulled into the parking lot beside a trendy bar and restaurant called the Glass Shoe. I decided to stay in my car and park at the opposite end until everyone had gone inside. Once I felt it was safe, I emerged from my vehicle and began to carefully explore the area to gather more information about Amanda's destination. The pub was situated at a reasonable distance from other establishments and was surrounded by ample parking spaces. 2 sides of the building were bordered by bustling streets, while the other 2 sides were adorned by a meticulously maintained 5-foot cedar hedge, with parking spaces positioned in front. As I surveyed the scene, I noticed the familiar black BMW from Amanda's convoy, which she had used for her previous outing to the restaurant on Friday. It now stood independently near the cedar hedge, far removed from the other cars. I made note of separate entrances for the restaurant and the bar, with fire doors positioned at the back for emergency purposes only. Another entrance, located on the other side where most vehicles were parked, served as access to the bar. However, Amanda's group had entered through the restaurant's designated door. Satisfied with my observations, I returned to my car to prepare for the occasion at hand. I changed into a different outfit that I had brought along in anticipation of this encounter, sporting a baseball cap and a sleek black windbreaker. I added a pair of glasses to further disguise my appearance. To alter my facial features to some extent, I donned a protective denture, similar to what boxers wear. Although I knew it would impede my ability to talk and drink comfortably, I was not particularly concerned, as engaging in conversation or getting intoxicated was not my intention. Glancing at myself in the rearview mirror, I was confident that no one would recognize me. I patiently waited in my car for another hour before finally entering the bar. The group, including my wife Amanda, sat together near the dance floor, reveling in drinks and merriment. My heart sank and disappointment washed over me as I witnessed Amanda sitting in close proximity to the same men she had dined with the previous Friday. It was evident that something was amiss between them, and I suspected an underlying connection. I discreetly chose a table towards the back of the bar, far removed from their vicinity, in order to quietly observe their interactions. This section of the establishment offered dimmer lighting and was sparsely populated, with a few solitary souls drowning their sorrows, much like myself. I knew I would go unnoticed in this secluded spot. Soon, the music began playing and people flocked to the dance floor. I observed Amanda dancing intimately with the man who had captured her attention. The 3 other men at their table watched on with peculiar smiles, evidently aware of the connection between Amanda and her dance partner. Their coupledom became the center of attention. After a few hours, only Amanda, another woman, and 2 men remained. The rest of the group had dispersed. Both couples found themselves on the dance floor, with my wife's arms wrapped around the man. It was unmistakable that they were lovers. As they swayed together, barely moving on the dance floor, their bodies pressed closely against one another. My heart sank further as I witnessed him kiss her and whisper something in her ear. Amanda nodded in response, and they both left the bar, hand in hand. My curiosity spiked. What were their intentions, and how far was Amanda willing to take this? I followed them discreetly into the darkness outside. They walked hand in hand towards his car, which was parked in the furthest row of the parking lot, adjacent to the cedar hedge. He knew they would be undisturbed in that secluded spot, far removed from any other vehicles and sheltered by the hedge at the back. What were they planning? How deeply was Amanda involved in this illicit affair? I was determined to uncover the truth. With utmost care, I made my way to the other end of the parking lot, hugging the shadows and concealing myself behind parked cars as I neared their secluded location. Finally, I found myself positioned behind his BMW. Initially, due to the darkness, I could see no one inside. But as I cautiously drew closer, attempting to peer through the deeply tinted windows, I could hear faint muffled voices. Desperation washed over me as I grappled with the decision of whether to confront them immediately, or bide my time to catch Amanda in the act. My internal struggle was cut short when I noticed the rhythmic shaking of the car, a clear indication that the man was engaging in inappropriate acts with my wife. My rage consumed me, and without hesitation, I forcefully yanked open the door, flooding the car with light and exposing Amanda in a compromising position with her lover. In that moment, my disguise was shed, and our eyes met. Amanda's expression transformed from contentment to shock within seconds. She mumbled an apology, pleading with me not to act impulsively. Urgently, she declared that the encounter had meant nothing and begged me to wait for her, asserting that she intended to return home. Slamming the door shut, I walked away, retreating to my car in a daze. By the time I departed from the parking lot, Amanda was already making her way towards me, desperately calling out for me to wait. An update: Amanda arrived home less than 5 minutes after I did, her appearance disheveled with disarrayed hair and wrinkled clothes. Tearfully, she approached me, expressing profound remorse and apologizing for the pain she had inflicted and the vows she had broken. Amanda confessed that had she known of my betrayal, she might have been driven to similar indiscretions. Despite her pleas, a surge of unexpected anger coursed through me. Her apologies continued as she insisted that her actions held no significance to her, expressing her love for me and emphasizing the importance of our family. Overwhelmed, she wept, hiding her face and eventually taking a seat on the couch due to her unsteady legs. Dismissing her apologies, I firmly stated that what she had done to our marriage was unforgivable and demanded to know the identity of the other person involved and the duration of their affair. My relief grew as she moved to the couch, removing her from my immediate presence. The temptation to physically react to her betrayal lingered. She disclosed the man's identity, a colleague of hers, and pleaded for understanding, claiming that the affair should have never happened. Amanda justified her actions by alluding to supposed deception during her girls' nights over the past couple of years, but she maintained that her love for me remained unchanged. I expressed my inability to endure the public exposure of her affair, highlighting the impact it would have on our reputation among coworkers and at social events. Amanda begged for forgiveness, vowing that the betrayal would never occur again, and emphasizing the importance of salvaging our marriage and family. While she continued speaking, I stood up, turning away from her. I made the decision to leave, needing time alone to contemplate. I confronted her about destroying our marriage through her initial act of infidelity. Suddenly, I was caught off guard by a cry and loud moan, causing me to glance back at Amanda on the floor, crying out of desperation. Despite the overwhelming urge to console her, my anger and sense of betrayal made it clear that I couldn't trust myself to stay in her presence. Silently, I departed from the house, spending a sleepless night in a hotel room. The following morning, I contacted my secretary to inform her that I wouldn't be coming into work for the day. I remained in my hotel room until noon. After quickly grabbing a bite at the hotel restaurant, I passed my house on the way to the office. A green Toyota, recognized as Amanda's sister Francine's car, was parked in the driveway. At least my daughters had the comfort of their aunt's company, along with that of their unfaithful mother. Little did I know, at the time, Amanda was in the hospital. After leaving the house the previous evening, Amanda explained the situation to her sister over the phone, leading her to have a breakdown. It was only when I reached my office that I received the news. Francine, Amanda's sister, called me, and we engaged in a lengthy conversation. She explained that Amanda was emotionally distressed and constantly weeping. Less than an hour after I left the house the previous evening, my eldest daughter contacted Francine, revealing that I was not at home and Amanda had become delirious. Francine promptly talked to her sister and called an ambulance when she realized Amanda's condition. Francine informed me that she was still at my house, taking care of my 2 daughters for a few days. She strongly suggested that I visit my wife at Santa Mary's hospital in town. Once the call ended, I was beyond shocked. Had I been selfish the previous evening? Did I abandon my family when they needed me the most, perhaps? But one thing was clear. If I had remained in the house with Amanda that evening, there was a chance, however small, that my anger would have gotten the best of me due to her actions. Yes, she shattered our marriage, but until yesterday, I never saw myself as someone who avoided problems. Was that exactly what I had done? Amanda and I undoubtedly faced a significant problem. But was that a reason for me to abandon my family when they needed me? I felt an overwhelming sense of guilt. Sitting behind my desk, I began to weep, questioning if there could have been another way. A better way, involving forgiveness and perhaps reconciliation, however slim the possibility. Of course, this mess was Amanda's doing. She bore full responsibility for giving another man what should have been mine alone. However, dismantling my marriage would hurt my 2 daughters far too much. There had to be another solution. That's when the idea of forgiveness with retribution crossed my mind. Once I had recovered from the shock of learning about Amanda's hospitalization, I got into my car and drove to the hospital. I had no idea what I would say to her. But one thing was certain. I was going to confront the situation and find out the full extent of her actions. And now, lying in this hospital bed, a thought surfaces in my mind. Recalling something my mother used to say, cheaters always face consequences, one way or another. Tom and I tied the knot when I was just 20, and we were truly happy. We had 2 incredible daughters, a beautiful home in a wonderful neighborhood, and financial security. Most importantly, I loved my husband, and I knew he loved me in return. When our youngest daughter turned 6, I secured a job at a film studio near Tom's workplace. With the fall of the Etam Curtain and the gradual democratization of communism, there was a high demand for American films in Ukraine. As a professional writer with extensive experience, I was tasked with rewriting the text while adding uniqueness, while preserving the main idea. During my time at university, I had the opportunity to develop my acting skills and fluency in Ukrainian. This eventually led to me securing a position as a female voice translator for English films, where I was responsible for translating them into Ukrainian. It was an incredible job that not only offered good pay but also allowed me to excel in my field. After 5 years of working in this role, a new voice translator named Viktor Danenko joined our team. Viktor was a tall and attractive man in his late 20s with dark blonde hair. Many of the girls at the studio developed a crush on him, but he seemed oblivious to the attention. Born in the US with Ukrainian-speaking grandparents, Viktor was perfectly bilingual. Viktor and I began working together frequently, and as we spent more time collaborating, a deep friendship started to blossom between us. It was during this time that my troubles began. Without realizing it, I found myself falling in love with him. Initially, Viktor treated me just like any other colleague, discussing work matters and maintaining a professional relationship. We worked well together, and I thoroughly enjoyed our partnership. However, things started to change when Viktor began joining our group on alternate Fridays. Our friendship began to evolve into something more profound. We became not only colleagues but also good friends. I found myself confiding in him about aspects of my life that I had never shared with my husband, especially during our outings to pubs. It was my mistake not to inform my husband, Tom, that our girls' night out was now mixed. I cherished Viktor's company and didn't want to share his attention with my husband on those nights. Over time, our friendship transformed into something deeper, and we found ourselves dancing together frequently. It wasn't until one evening, while dancing to a slow song, that Viktor passionately kissed me. It was a shocking moment, as it was not an innocent or familial kiss. This was the start of it all. The following Friday, he found an excuse to take me away from the pub, and we engaged in intimate moments in his car. From there, our passion escalated, and soon we found ourselves engaging in more explicit activities in the backseat. Despite feeling guilty when I returned home, I made sure to show Tom the love and affection he deserved. However, I failed to realize that as my husband, Tom deserved my complete love, and I shouldn't have given any part of it to Viktor. It became increasingly challenging to distance myself from Viktor as we worked together every day. Gradually, we developed a habit of hugging and kissing when no one else was around, even at work. From my perspective, this behavior with Viktor didn't diminish my love for Tom. I still would have given my life for him, and I never intended to hurt him with my affair. Unfortunately, I was mistaken. Making love with Victor was not superior to making love with my husband. However, the freedom and lack of judgment I felt with Victor made all the difference. When I made love to my husband, I had to hold back to avoid him thinking less of me. With Victor, I didn't have any such restraints because I didn't care about his opinion of me. This was the main reason why I allowed myself to do things with Victor that I had never done with my husband. Victor and I were thoughtless and irresponsible in how we behaved in front of our colleagues. While Victor didn't care much, as he wasn't married, our public behavior made it only a matter of time before my husband would discover my affair with Victor. Thanks to a jealous coworker, we should have been more discreet, even if Tom had never found out. I now understand that what I did would still have been terribly wrong. The evening Tom caught us was the worst moment of my life. He shouted at me to go to hell and take my lover with me. Before he turned to leave, I realized that my marriage was in deep trouble. In my haste to leave Victor's car and catch up with my husband, I even stepped on Victor. But it was too late. Tom had already sped away, leaving me standing alone in the middle of the parking lot. Until that moment, I considered my love for Tom to be like a blazing fire, burning solely for him. And I believed he felt the same way about me. However, when Victor entered my life and kissed me for the first time, it ignited a spark that turned into another fire, burning for Victor. These emotions for Victor didn't diminish the love I felt for my husband. I convinced myself that it was similar to when my youngest daughter was born, loving her with all my heart didn't diminish the love I had for my eldest daughter. It's incredible the excuses we make to justify our deepest desires. However, children don't expect a parent to love only them, and we don't vow to forsake all others for their sake. I played games with Victor while consciously ensuring that these thoughts never reached the surface. I know my husband sees things differently now, and I don't blame him. I understand that if the roles were reversed and he had another woman in his life, I would be devastated. Human thoughts and emotions are mysterious, and sometimes we shouldn't try to reason them. So now I'm here in a hospital bed. Each time I wake from my dreamless rest, I start thinking about the events of the last few months. I cry and feel sorry for myself. Then the nurse injects me again with something, and I sleep once more. A wonderful sleep that allows me to forget everything. I wish I could never wake up again and find peace with myself. But each time, just before I pass out, I see a picture of Tom and me on our wedding day. Oh God, help me. My children, my husband, I can't leave them. I must fight the urge to hide on the other side. Life is a never-ending combat. My father once told me, if you stop fighting, then you had no right to be living in the first place. I am alive. Tom and my daughters are alive. And I will live also. After all, they are the loves of my life. Yes, I will fight for my husband and my daughters are alive. And I will live also. After all, they are the loves of my life. Yes, I will fight for my husband and my family. To me, Vic is just dead now. He had absolutely no right to be in my life in the first place. If Tom allows me, I will be once again and for the rest of my life, the faithful wife I used to be. When I wake up, how long in the future, I don't know, but I will come back into my family's world. Of that, I am certain. When I do, the first thing I hope to see is my husband standing there in front of me so that I can start the difficult task of making it up to him. I don't know how many days I have to stay here in the hospital bed, but I beg everyone to pray for Tom and our daughters.